Prime Minister Carney on his way to Washington this week, and CBC News has learned the government is hopeful about a potential deal on the tariffs on steel and aluminum.
I have lost the illusion that we should predict in precise time when we might get to an agreement. An agreement can take many different forms. My view is an agreement is something that would improve the circumstance that we're in today.
He promised that he would negotiate a win with the United States by July 21st. Where's the win? Since Mr. Carney took office promising to be a brilliant negotiator, American tariffs on Canada have more than doubled, and they have much broadened.
So what should Canadians expect from the Tuesday meeting? Let's bring in our Sunday Scrum. Catherine Lévesque is a parliamentary reporter for the National Post, Emma Graney with the Globe and Mail in Calgary, and Rob Shaw, political correspondent for CHEK News. Catherine, I'm going to start with you. I mean, there's pressure certainly on the Prime Minister to come away with something here. They're trying to manage expectations. What do you think is the likelihood there'll be some sort of movement?
Yeah, I mean, they're working very hard to try to temper expectations because any mention of a deal, you never know how that might happen. It might go sideways, with President Trump. But Of course, I mean, look, we're talking about several ministers coming with the Prime Minister, Anand, Joly, and LeBlanc. I think it's fair to say that we can expect something to happen on the industry front. I don't think we should hope that there will be no tariffs moving forward on steel and aluminum, but maybe lower tariffs, because this is having very real effects on industries in the U.S. For instance, F-150s, those big trucks that a lot of Canadians love and Americans too. I mean, the stockpiling of the aluminum is going to be, finished soon. So we can maybe expect higher prices. So I don't know for sure what will happen in the next few days. We don't even know how this meeting really came to be, if it was Carney's initiatives or Trump's initiative. But one thing is for sure is that expectations are very high at the moment. And if there is no deal at the end of this, there might be consequences, and there will be a lot more political attacks of us having elbows down.
For sure. It's interesting, though, Emma, that the goal now, as Catherine and I are discussing here, is not just removing tariffs, which is what everyone would have liked to see. It's just to have them lowered and for them to be predictable in one sector. I mean, that's a pretty different conversation than the one we were having during the election campaign, obviously.
100% it is. And I think that idea of lowering expectations before Prime Minister Carney goes into these meetings is exactly the messaging that we're seeing out of Ottawa right now. Because do you manage to get rid of it all? I mean, probably not. No, not at all. But we are heading into the renegotiation next year of USMCA, like the US Mexico-Canada trade agreement. And that's going to be a massive, massive deal for all three countries involved. And that's going to be a really hard task. So I think at this point, Prime Minister Carney has to kind of walk this almost a bit of a tightrope. We want to see less tariffs, but also don't make the president too mad, because then you don't know what he will do. So it's a tough dance, right? It's a tough dance move to have to do there. But I guess we'll see what he manages to bring out of that, because you're right, we have seen some movement on the tariff issue. So there are a lot of industries out there hoping that Carney can come away with some wins for sure.
Yeah, Rob, what do you think? What do you think, I guess, is the bar for success is kind of the question.
Yeah, well, not giving up any more concessions to get almost nothing in return would be a good bar. I like the Prime Minister's brand is at stake here, right? And those Polyev attacks, you heard a clip of it, they're starting to land. He at one point in that scrum said it would be better for Canada if the Prime Minister just went and hid under a rock, because every time he meets a world leader, the tariff situation worsens. And the idea of this master negotiator, the Trump whisperer, we now have the 51st state rhetoric come back by Trump in a speech to generals. Like, it feels like there's a sliding backwards or worsening. And so the brand of the Prime Minister, he needs to come back with something, but he also needs to show a respectful, on the same level world leader meeting in the Oval Office. And Rosie, you're going to be analyzing that thing like frame by frame. It is so risky. The handshake, the clothing, the people in the room, everything gets kind of micromanaged and overanalyzed, and you can't control it. It is a hugely risky trip to go on.
Yeah, I would wonder, Catherine, if given that we're expecting some movement on the Middle East tomorrow, potentially negotiations, I also don't know how focused the president would be on this topic, given that he's deeply involved and has a lot riding on those talks between Israel and Hamas as well. So it's good to get in the room, but I just don't know how much of a priority this could be for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, on top of all that, I mean, Prime Minister Carney and President Trump are going to be meeting on October 7th, which will be the second anniversary of this, those horrible attacks. But yes, I mean, you're right. The focus will be kind of all over the place, so I think it will be a little difficult to really try to, get to a deal. Officially, this visit is really about looking forward to the review of CUSMA, which is coming up next year. But yes, you're right. I mean, certainly there will be a lot of talks about the Gaza peace plan. I know Canada has opened the door to maybe playing a role in the aftermath and trying to, stabilize the territories, the Palestinian territories. But I think there also is a risk, there might be a reporter asking a question, rightfully so, about, President Trump, what do you think about Canada recognizing the state of Palestine? I mean, did this help at all in the peace plan? And so we really don't know how this could happen. And certainly I think, it'll be very hard for Canadian officials to try to stay focused on trying to get a deal, trying to get a win, and we might see a bit of rambling on President Trump's part.
Yeah, and I think, Rob, too, I mean, I'm just going to you because there's another round of tariffs coming on softwood lumber in a week's time. Also, if you come back and you've got reprieve for one sector and not another, that also creates challenges, too.
It does, and you did some good interviews on the impact of softwood lumber. I mean, we're at 45% next week on the tariffs and the countervailing and the import. 50% on aluminum and steel. If you can knock that down, that's great. But British Columbia is still going to be pounding on the door, saying our auto sector is in forestry, and it's just getting hammered. And so that is it's not related to CUSMA. It spans through Biden and Trump, the softwood lumber dispute. It's incredibly complicated, but the hope had been maybe you make progress and springboard off of it into CUSMA. That doesn't look like it's happening.
Catherine Lévesque, Emma Graney, Rob Shaw, thank you all for spending part of your Sunday with me. Really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
As the pressure is mounting on the Prime Minister to gain some ground as Donald Trump's tariffs keep hammering the Canadian economy, CBC News has been told there is the potential for some movement on steel and aluminum tariffs. Canadian officials caution that it isn't a done deal, but there is hope. Tuesday's Oval Office meeting between the Prime Minister and the U.S. President will be Carney's second visit as PM. Trump last welcomed Carney back in May, and they've been in regular contact ever since. What they have not done is reach a deal to lift any U.S. tariffs. And next week, Canada's already reeling lumber industry is bracing for a brand new round of U.S. tariffs by the president. Starting October 14th, wood cabinets and vanities will be hit with a 25% U.S. tariff. Then on January 1st, that rate is set to jump to 50%. There's also a new 10% global tariff on softwood lumber, combined with the already existing 35% duties, meaning total levies on Canadian softwood producers would add up to 45%. John Brink is the owner of Brink Forest Products. Thanks for joining me this morning, John.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you are a secondary manufacturer. How much do you rely on BC lumber mills and on the U.S. as a customer?
Well, we rely on lumber mills to provide us with lumber as an input, not logs. And so that makes us a secondary manufacturer. Most of our product, about 90% of it, goes into the United States as a market. So reliable on both cases, very much so.
So you operate 3 mills right now, I think, with like 250 employees. What will happen when those further duties and tariffs go into place?
Well, they will go into place. The duties will go into place as it affects us, the 45%, on the 14th of October. That is next week. That means that if the lumber passes the border on 12:01 in the morning, the duties are in place. We normally operate, we've been in operation, it was on October the 1st, the 50th year that I've been in operation as a secondary manufacturer in northern British Columbia. We have 3 operations, as you indicated, one in Prince George, one in Vanderhoof, one in Houston. Normally, we employ direct employment of 400 jobs. Now we are closer to 100 to 150. Already we're making further adjustments because of the 45% duty, the additional 10% on top of that, of the 35%. So we are now further layoffs, so where we are probably somewhere below 100 employees. So the impact is immense. They're trying to do as much pain as they can, apparently, to anybody that is involved with lumber manufacturing. So far, since 2017, our company has paid $80 million in duties.
How much longer can you go on then?
Well, it's amazing. Obviously, I've gone on for 50 years, and duties have always been a part of that in some form, but it is beyond normal now. So we are pretty much to the point that most of the value-added manufacturers in British Columbia, there used to be in 2000 about 800 of them. Now there is less than probably 25% of that, maybe 200. I believe in northern British Columbia, we have used to have about 40 secondary manufacturers. Now we're down to 4 maybe secondary manufacturers, and every single one of them likely will not be there or wish they were not there as we speak, for all intents and purposes, because it's becoming more and more bizarre, although announcements have been made for assistance by the Premier Carney, or about $1.2 billion in support, but we have not seen anything like that.
You mentioned the aid package. It's my understanding that as a secondary manufacturer, you don't qualify for that support. So is there something that the government should be doing to support secondary manufacturers so you don't end up having to shut down if the government can't resolve this?
Yeah, good question to ask. So the first thing that they should be doing is support secondary manufacturing so that we can find more new markets for new products around the world, rather than doing the same old. Yeah. The US, Canada, and Mexico together under CUSMA is the best arrangement between those 3 countries that should work closely and have worked closely together. That's where the future is for the United States, to work closely with Canada and Mexico under one umbrella with no taxes and with open interaction in all different areas. That will make them successful. The way we are going right now, and especially with the United States, very short-sighted. But at the end, their customers will pay the price.
John Brink, owner of Brink Forest Products, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining me from Prince George, British Columbia today.
You're welcome.
Softwood lumber, of course, a long-standing source of tension between the 2 countries. The U.S. claims that Canada floods the market with cheaper subsidized products. The new tariffs are the president's latest bid to shore up the domestic American lumber industry, just as he tried to do with steel, aluminum, and autos. Donald Trump is claiming national security as his justification. Dan Dunmoyer is the president of the California Building Industry Association. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So the president is increasing tariffs on Canadian lumber, citing again a national security concern from his perspective, from the American perspective. Would you agree with that assessment?
No, we really don't think there's a national security concern between the U.S. and Canada, especially in the context of tariff and trade, but frankly, on any factor within our 2 countries' relationship.
Have you had any conversations with the administration to explain or better understand why they're doing this and the impact it's having on the United States?
We have, as a state association, we also work through our national associations as well to communicate to the president that adding tariffs at this time to the cost of housing is of a great concern to us and great concern to the people who buy our homes and rent our homes. The adding cost at this time to any consumer good in America is really not the right step to take.
Do you have a sense of what kind of, how it's affecting costs, if you know, per house or just in a general way?
We do. We generally would say that it's adding between $9,000 to $11,000 per home. And an interesting fact for us is that for every $1,000 of a new price point in the state of California, it adds, basically takes out of the consumer equation almost 9,000 families who can buy our product. So when you add, let's say, $10,000 to the cost of the home, you're taking 90,000 to 100,000 California families out of the ability to buy the average home price in California. So it's a profound impact on consumers, a profound impact on our ability to meet the needs of consumers.
So is it, I guess it's having an impact on the real estate market then broadly as well?
No question. And the other kind of tragic part for us is, as you all are aware, it's been a while, but 9 months ago, we had these horrible fires in California.
Yep.
And so those fires, destroyed 15 to 17,000 homes. And those are, hopefully can be rebuilt through insurance proceeds, but those insurance proceeds are capped. They don't move up and down based on the cost of lumber, the cost of building a home. So it's also impacting our ability to provide more attainable price points for those who are trying to recover from these fires that just occurred 9 months ago.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that as a consequence, but you're right to point it out. The president has said many times that the U.S. has enough trees to support its own lumber needs, that it doesn't need Canadian lumber. Give me a sense of if that's true or not, and if California is able to replace lumber from Canada. Is there anywhere that can fill in the gap?
Theoretically, the president's right. In California, he owns, or the federal government owns, half of our land, and that includes trees. So theoretically, he's right, but practically, he's not right. So a third of our lumber currently comes from outside the United States, and of that third, 85% comes from Canada. The ability to flip a switch and build, buy and create more lumber products in the United States and in California cannot happen overnight. Matter of fact, it can't happen in a couple of years, because just the ability to create more mills and more labor to create the lumber needed for building our homes and building our overall building product types cannot happen overnight. So love to see it happen, practically, but practically it doesn't happen. So we're very reliant on lumber from Canada and very reliant too on doing, using that product in the next 3, 6, 9 months. So maybe 5 years from now, theoretically, it could happen, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. And that's why we're so concerned about these tariffs.
I'll just quickly end on this, Dan. The Prime Minister and the President are going to sit down this week. What would you say to both of them about trying to seek a resolution here?
Well, for us, we're looking for long-term strategies between both nations. We can't just flip the switch every time we have a new president and there's a new prime minister. So for us, it's predictability that's important. So we hope Mr. Carney and Mr. Trump can come to a long-term agreement, and one that the next president can continue with the next prime minister. So we value our relationship with Canada because of its quality of lumber. It's our hope that these two gentlemen in leadership positions can create a long-term strategy for tariffs and trade so that we can plan for the future and that both nations can prosper.
Dan Dunmoyer is the president of the California Building Industry Association. Dunmoyer, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it, Dan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.